Hey there everyone, Mike here, coming at you again from Badlands Paintball. Well, today I'm going to be doing another tech video. This one was a request by one of our customers. They wanted to see exactly how to take apart and maintain their Empire Mini. Now we have previously done a review on the Empire Axe, which is a very similar marker to take apart, but not the exact same. So we will go over the Empire Mini. I'll show you how to pull out your bolt assembly, how to gain access to your eyes, all that fun stuff. Now before we get started, like I always say, you guys at home should have your manuals out in front of you, have some paper towel. Also, you're going to want to have your complete parts kit with all of your Allen keys, grease, everything that you need inside of there, okay? So before you get started, make sure you have all those things. Now let's dive right on into here and take this gun apart. First thing again I always do when I'm checking my paintball guns, I take off the barrel. It definitely makes it easier to work on, a lot smaller profile. So more than likely when it comes to teching your Mini, the main thing that you're going to want to do is pull out your bolt and wipe out any paint that may have gotten the breach due to a break, or maybe just to re-grease your O-rings altogether. So it's really easy to gain access to your bolt in the Mini. All you have to do is pop out the rear Allen key on behind your grip frame here, and you can actually pull the whole bolt right out the back. So you want to get with your correct size Allen key, just get to the rear screw here. And I will screw that out. So once that's pulled out all the way, you will have access to your bolt. Now, some will just pop out, but if you're having a hard time popping it out, just stick your finger down the feed neck and push on your bolt tip towards the back, and all of your internals will slide out. So we've got our bolt assembly there, and of course our bolt spring. So very similar to the Empire Axe, you do have your rear Poppet in the back here, a few rear O-rings, and actually your front bolt as well with the spring. So when it comes to cleaning and maintaining these pieces, we'll start with the bolt. You want to remove the spring. You can always tell that you have the spring on the correct way when it actually clicks down in. The opposite side here can just flow easily on and off, so that means it is on the wrong way. So when you're putting your spring back on, you want to make sure it clips in. So it should click off. You want to remove any sort of paint or debris, any excess grease or anything like that off your spring. And same thing with the bolt. You're going to want to remove any paint that's on that bolt, and check to make sure that your O-rings don't need to be replaced or your tip needs to be replaced, okay? So you get the two O-rings on the rear and your front rubber tip. As long as those don't have any major nicks or scratches in them, as long as they're properly greased and there's no paint, you're good to go. You can set that aside. So I'll stick my spring back on so that it clicks in. I can put that to the side. Next is the rear assembly of your bolt. This is actually the tube that your bolt slides on. Those O-rings will be important to be properly greased and in good condition, okay? So you've got 1, 2, 3, and a fourth in the back that acts as a bumper, okay? So make sure that those don't have any paint or excess grease or anything like that on them. When you are greasing these bolts, you're going to put grease on your finger. You'll wipe it on. It can be on a little bit thick so that grease gets in to the side corners there, but then I will usually take my other non-greasy finger and wipe off any excess grease. Essentially, you want to have enough grease to make your O-rings nice and smooth and shiny, but not so much that it's caked up all over the place, potentially slowing your bolt and internals down. So you'll also want to re-grease these three rear O-rings here. Now, in regards to the rear and the front, you do have small air holes here, okay? Try not to fill those up with grease. It'll definitely help if you don't. It'll blow through, but it's that much better, again, not to have a ton of excess grease. If you ever need to gain access, I should say, to your Poppet, if that does need to be replaced, if the Poppet face is getting worn out, you can remove and split the rear half. Right here, you can get yourself a wrench and twist that rear half off, and your poppet stem and spring will pull right out the back. We're not going to get that deep today because generally speaking you don't have to do that very often. So now that we know the rest of our assembly is clean, doesn't have any paint on it, and our bolt and our O-rings I should say are greased, I can set that aside as well. Maybe I'll just slide the bolt right back over top of the assembly. So that's the side. So now the next piece that you'll probably want to make sure is clean, of course, is going to be the inside of the breech. Now before I go ahead and slide my swab down the breech to clean it out, I'll actually pop out the detents as well. So the detents are those little rubber nubs, little white nubs I should say, in there that keep your ball from rolling down the breech when you're not firing. They can get painty if you get a paintball break, so we'll want to get access to those. Fortunately, Empire makes it very easy on us. We gain access to the detents just by pulling out this red circular piece on either side. That is actually attached to the detent via a spring. So we'll take our smaller Allen key here and just twist that counterclockwise out. And you can see what it looks like there when I pull it out. So you do have the actual red Allen key and screw there, and you do have the spring-loaded detent. So I can take off those detents from the spring and replace them if I need to, and then pop it right back on the spring again once I'm ready to rock and roll. So I want to make sure there's no paint or grease on that. I'll do the same thing with the other side. Twist it off. Make sure there's no paint on that either. Now I can run a swab right down my gun, the inside I should say, right through the back and out through the front, just to make sure there's no paint or grease on the inside of that breech. Now one other piece that you may occasionally have to clean out will be your electronic eyes. And they're actually the hardest part on this marker to get to, but I'll show you how to do that right now. So your eyes are actually attached to the circuit board, which is on top of your grip frame, or I should say right underneath your grip frame, sitting along the inside here. So to gain access to that, we have to pull off the remainder of the grip frame. The only other screw holding that grip frame on is right in the front here. So I can get my Allen key again. Okay, so I pull that screw out and I will set it to the side. Now you'll notice here that your rear screw and your front screw for the grip frames are two different lengths. The rear screw, which is also holding your bolt in place, will be at the back, okay? So I'll make sure that's at the back, and my shorter one is at the front. So now those screws are out, I can actually go ahead and separate the top half from the bottom half. Be very careful as you pull this top half away from the bottom half, alright? You don't want to strip anything, especially there's a small O-ring right on the bottom of your transfer tube here attached to the ASA. You want to make sure that doesn't get nicked or scratched. So that might be the only other O-ring that you really want to keep an eye on and make sure that it is in good repair and is greased, okay? So I can set the rest of my grip frame right to the side here. And now I'm really going to want to look at the top half of our marker here. So like I said, we do have the transfer tube. We'll actually want to twist that right off. Just hand twists out counterclockwise. And we have our solenoid here as well. Now I will have to remove that solenoid to gain access to the circuit board. To do so, I just will want to disconnect the wiring here. I can do that just by simply pulling it out and away from the circuit board. And now I can actually twist off my solenoid with a counterclockwise rotation. Just like that. So it twists off, just a few twists, and I can set that to the side. It's definitely easier to disconnect it first and then twist it, rather than twisting it, then disconnecting it. So the last step we have to take here is just removing the plate here, which is covering our circuit board. We can remove that by taking out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 total Allen keys, okay, that are keeping this circuit board covered. So let's get at that here. Get our last 2 screws here. One more. Perfect. So all those screws are the same length. You don't have to worry about those mixing them up. So I'll put all those screws to the side, and now I can gently remove my plate cover there. So that's the side. So now we do have access to our circuit board, okay? You've got a little gasket O-ring here as well too. You will want to make sure that this piece is in good condition as well. Very rarely though do you have to replace that. But you can now see our circuit board, and just by grabbing the front here, you can actually gently pull that out. And now you can see these pieces right there are our eyes. So on the inside, that's where you're going to want to clean off just the microfiber rag. Make sure there's not any paint, dirt, or debris on there. And then I usually get a little piece of paper towel and just put it right down the holes where the eyes actually slide in there. At this point, you can really take a swab and rub down the inside of your breech there, because there's absolutely nothing holding you back. So you can make sure the holes where your eyes insert into are nice and clean, your breech is nice and clean, make sure your eyes don't have any paint on them, and then you can slide everything right back in. Be very gentle inserting your circuit board again, because the eyes slide very specifically back into their slot, and you don't want to bend them or twist them or make them off aligned. If the eyes are no longer aligned, well, they won't see each other anymore, and it'll seem like a ball, or the eyes will not work, I should say. So make sure your eyes are lined up properly, make sure you don't force it in. Now I can take this plate, stick it right back on top, and install each one of my screws again. Making sure it's all good to go. Perfect, I think I'm good. Alright, so my plate cover there is back on. Now I can re-screw in my solenoid. The solenoid goes in the front hole, front being towards the barrel. So I can twist it back on there. Now, I mean, it won't screw into the back hole, so I guess you don't really have to worry about messing that one up, but I figured I'd specify anyway. So tighten it all the way down, and then I can put my my cord right back in here, plug it right back into the circuit board. Good. And I can install my air transfer tube here again, twist that all the way down. Perfect, no need to go crazy tightening up any of these things, they're all hand tightened. And now I can install the top half back onto my bottom half. The main thing again is that you don't want to nick up or scratch your transfer tube too much as you put it in. And the other main piece is your front circuit board connects to your top circuit board with these little prongs on the front here. You make sure you don't bend any of those prongs as you slide the two back together. So they should slide in very easily together. If you're meeting a lot of resistance, back it off and attempt it again, okay? Slide it in here. See, so I'm not going to force anything. I'm just going to wait until it's properly lined up. There we go, just like that. So it should just snap right in when it's lined up properly. Not a lot of effort at all needed. So I'll reinstall my front screw here. Mostly hand tighten it until I get to the bottom, as it's a little bit awkward to get to. Good, that one's tight. Now I can install each of my detents again, one on each side. 1 and 2. Now I can install my rear bolt again. So again, make sure the bolt slides on properly onto the power tube. Make sure your spring is on the correct way so it snaps into place. And now I can slide this right back in. You will position it so that the little hole on the top back lines up with this small metal bar on your frame. So slide those in. It will really only fit in one place. Keep your finger on the rear, holding it in, and then slide in your final screw. Make sure everything is tight and in place. Perfect. Now we can reinstall our barrel. Alright everyone, so that sums up how to tech your Empire Mini. At this point you should have no paint in the breech, all your O-rings should be in great condition and greased, your detents and eyes should be clean and ready to rock and roll. Now, if you have any further questions, please feel free to come into any of our 9 locations across Canada. We've got tons of helpful employees in there that'll definitely be willing to answer any questions that you have. And actually, if you're looking to get an Empire Mini yourself, of course, come into those locations or visit us at www.badlandspaintball.com. You can see all the minis that we have online there. And also follow us on Facebook and Twitter, okay guys? We've got tons of promotions going on right now, so it's a great time to win some free stuff. And also, if you enjoy these videos, you want to make any comments, or you want to actually have a video done that you would like, please comment and follow us on YouTube. We love to hear from you guys, okay? So I hope this was a big help. I hope your mini is in great condition, ready to go out there and have some fun playing paintball, guys. Take care.